Hi, I'm Randy Robison. Welcome to the special digital version of Life Today TV. Kyle Dendy is with me, and well, you just got to meet him. Kyle, welcome.
How are you, sir?
So, okay, you are 18.
That's correct.
And you're already on a good track for doing a lot of cool stuff. So, what do you consider yourself? Spoken word artist?
You know, I do a lot of things, spoken word, author, speaker, preacher, evangelist, but I think the biggest thing in my prayer always is that I could just be a servant of Christ. So I think that's what it all boils down to. And then by His grace, I have the opportunity to do a lot of other cool things like that.
All right, so you started off rough. You could have been a basket case, honestly. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, so when I was 5 years old, it was January 1st, 2003, New Year's Day. My mom, my twin sister, and I, we had just gone to this little New Year's Eve gathering in the neighborhood. We all came home, and at 5 years old, of course, I was excited to be back, get home, talk to my dad and everything like that, and I ran up to the door, opened the door. Then when I walked in, I was devastated to find out that my dad had just died right there in front of my eyes. And I remember this moment so clearly and so vividly, and I remember not crying, screaming, yelling, running, or anything, but just kind of standing there in shock, as everything felt like it was in slow motion.
He took his own life.
That's correct.
Did he ever give you any indication why?
Not that I would find out until later, but at the time it was just very devastating.
Well, yeah. I mean, I would, you know, you're 18 now. That doesn't ever go away.
You know, it's something that like I said, I still have that picture to this day. And I think those moments when tragedy strikes, we all have the decision to make. We can let it take us to the ground, or we can use that to build us up and use that story, that testimony we have to help others.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of thing can bury you, or it can launch you in a sense.
That's correct. Exactly.
You told me that is kind of the thing that puts you to the point where, as an 18-year-old, you already know what you want to do in a lot of ways with your life.
And for anyone who's dealing with that, that idea of it launching you, it doesn't make it easier, it doesn't make it less painful, but it definitely does make it, there's a purpose behind the pain. Yeah. You can always have a purpose behind that.
Yeah. So tell me about the book you wrote.
Yeah, so when I was 17, I wrote a book called The Vision.
When you were 17, like last year.
Yeah, last year when I was 17, I wrote a book called The Vision. And at this time I hadn't even started preaching, never had done a sermon, anything like that, but was actually just doing motivational speaking. So I wrote this book called The Vision. It's themed helping the common man discover his uncommon destiny. The Vision is an acronym: veracity, which is conforming to the truth; intention, selflessness; intelligence, optimism; and never ever surrender.
Is that your own material? Did you hear that?
That's all my own material.
Uh-oh, we may have us a prodigy on our hands.
But so I wrote this book, and it really helped some people. It helped some people and was used as curriculum in a few places, but it also opened up doors to speak and really just, I think on the path to our destiny, it's always steps. It's not some big leap that we necessarily take. For some people it may be, but that was one step that led to the next.
Yeah. What was the next?
The next step for me was actually, I want to say it was when a prophecy came through, actually. And this prophecy had to do with me preaching, and actually had to do with me doing evangelism like I'm doing now. And the moment that came through, I turned 180 and started preaching instead of motivational speaking.
What does it look like for you? I mean, because it's different these days than it was like when my dad was doing high school football stadiums.
Yeah, so when I started out, it's everything from, I did a retreat, chapels, I preached in a church a couple times, and then throughout the course of my journey, evangelism and really revival is something that's been big on my heart. So I'm excited about what God has to come with that.
And there's more to come. And how do they reach you if they want to invite you?
Anyone who wants to invite me to come speak at their event, conference, revival, anything like that, will go to kyledendy.com. There they'll find different sermons I preached, spoken word material, also, of course, booking information.
You ever done slam poetry?
I haven't, no.
Do you know what it is?
I've heard of it. I'm kind of familiar with it.
It's spoken word, but it's, anyway, I won't go into details.
Right.
I'm just going to challenge you to do that.
Yeah.
Just go find a place to do that. There's a great little place in Chicago, in old
Okay.
Chicago, but you don't have to go all the way up there. Anyway,
Yeah.
What's next after this? Tell us.
So, well, I'm going to California next week for Biola University for college.
Oh, you're going to start in school?
Yes, I'll be in college next week. So I'm going to start that. But
Yeah.
even outside of that, I'm still going to continue in walking in the evangelism stuff.
Yeah.
I have a ministry called One Generation Under God. And that's really the platform of the revivals, I believe, what God is going to use. It's not about one single generation, but about generations coming together as one under Jesus.
Yeah. What's the secret? I know what it is. So this is a setup. This is a softball question.
Yeah.
What's the secret to really knowing what your purpose in life is?
You know, I think that's a question that everybody wants to know, and I don't think there's some secret formula to it. But I would say this, that God has placed a purpose in each and every one of us. And not only has he placed it in you, but he's given you the gifts, the talents, even the passions that you need to fulfill that. In the word, it says that delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. When you delight yourself in God, when you're always in the word, when you're spending time with him, he puts his desires, his passions in you. When you pursue those, he gives you those desires. And if there's a formula, I would say that's it. But at the end of the day, we all have our own journey. And yeah, that's what I would say about that.
Yeah, yours is exciting, my friend. Pleasure to have you here. I wish you well in school. We'll see if you make it all the way through, or if you have to finish by correspondence or online courses.
It's going to be tough, yeah.
Yeah, so because that's cool. So feel free to invite him. Don't worry about the school thing. He's already out there by the time you see this. Just invite him if you want to invite him. And I want you to hear, oh wait, there's something you're supposed to mention in this interview.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share a quick revelation that God kind of shared with me. So a pastor that I was meeting with, he told me something he does going through the Bible, and that he starts from the beginning, he goes all the way through and starts over. And I thought it'd be a good idea just to really familiarize myself with even stuff that maybe I haven't read before. Mm-hmm. So I started, of course, in Genesis 1:1, and I expected to get through the whole chapter, but I was stuck by Genesis 1 verse 2. And you know in that it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the waters. And when I read that, I realized that if you think about that, darkness was everywhere. Darkness was as far as the eye could see, but it says still the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God spoke to me in that time, do not ever mistake the presence of darkness for the absence of God.
Wow.
You know, in these days, we're living in some dark times where darkness seems to be spreading so fast, but the Spirit of God is still on the move. And if you go just one verse later, it says that God said, let there be light, and there was light. When the word of God was spoken, it was then that light invaded the darkness. It was not political speech. It was not motivational words. But when the word of God was spoken, the light invaded the darkness. It's no ordinary light. It's no ordinary name. It's the name Jesus. You know, it's not the name Trump. It's not the name Hillary, but it's the name Jesus. When the light of the world comes into the darkness of the world, the darkness is no more.
Dude, God just showed you that just reading the first few verses of the Bible.
I wish I could explain how crazy it was, because I truly expected to get through a couple chapters.
That is some depth, though. That is some powerful
And
truth.
if I can say this, I don't think it's any coincidence that God put that at the very beginning of his word. If you're going to read anything, a lot of people may get a new Bible, open up to the first page. That's the first 2 verses that he has you read. That there was darkness everywhere, but God was still there. And then 1 verse later, light came into the darkness. I would say that that's something for our country right now, that we need the word of God.
In a lot of ways, that sums up Christ, the gospel.
It does,
right? Right there.
Yeah, it says in
beginning.
John, in the beginning was the word was with God, the word was God. You see, when we speak the word of God, it's so powerful because we're speaking Jesus. Jesus is the word. Jesus is the light of the world. And the light of the world is the cure for the darkness of the world.
And then he flipped that back on them, on his disciples, said, you are the light of the world.
Exactly. You see, he's put it in us. A lot of people don't realize how much power we have in the name Jesus. Yeah, I could go on a lot about that. But
Oh, yeah, I want to let you. Check it out. Check out the program lifetoday.org, where Kyle is on. Look him up, follow him on social media, whatever he's got going on at his website. Did I ask you for your website yet?
You did, KyleDendy.com.
We'll get it up there again, KyleDendy.com. Check it out, go to the website, and dude, God's got big stuff for you. If you just let him, you just don't get in the way. He'll do.
I think that's big for a lot of people.
We
get in the way of his purpose.
Yeah, it is. So, especially for preachers, wish you the best. Appreciate you. Love what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hit the subscribe button because we want to let you know about all the great videos from Life Today.